In this video, you will be instructed on how to access and use finding aids for archival collections held by the Chatham University Archives and Special Collections. If you're not sure what a finding aid is, don't worry, you're in the right place. We'll explain them in greater detail as the video progresses, but first we'll navigate to where to search for finding aids, and from there go to the website they are kept on, Archon. To start, you'll see that I'm on the Chatham University Archives and Special Collections webpage. Accessible via this URL, library.chatham.edu/archives. From here, I'm going to scroll all the way to the bottom of the screen where the search bar lives. If you know what you are looking for specifically, you can type in a search term or two here in this box and then click on search to find it. However, if you just want to see all the finding aids that are available, you can click on this link here at the bottom of the screen. Click here to see all finding aids. We're currently being redirected to where the finding aids are in the library catalog. So now that that's all loaded, you'll see we're in the library catalog and we're looking at all of the finding aids available. Looks like there's 21 of them on 2 pages. For this video, we're going to look at the finding aid for the Chatham University Student Handbooks collection, so I'm going to go ahead and scroll until we find that one. And looks like it's here. So it's right here. And now to get to the finding aid, all you have to do is click on this blue button that says link to the collection finding aid. We're now being redirected to another website. And finally, we're on Archon. So you'll see on this page that we've landed on now are all the parts of the finding aids relegated under helpful headings. So if you click on any one of these blue links, the information that's underneath that heading in the finding aid will appear. This is useful if you want to look at one part of the finding aid at a time, or if you're only looking for specific information that you can find in a certain part of the finding aid. However, if you wanted to look at the finding aid like you would if you walked into the archives and looked at a hard copy of the finding aid, you'll want to click here on Detailed Description. So now you'll see that we can see everything at once. Now that we can do that, let's talk about what a finding aid is. In an archive, a group of materials, referred to as a collection, is organized into one collective record. Much like a library has a card catalog record for each book, DVD, or other item in their collection, an archive groups together a wide variety of related materials into one record, and then the finding aid is like the card catalog record. It tells you not only what materials make up the record and how they are organized, but also how the materials were obtained and who collected them. Just like each book on a library shelf is unique, each collection in an archive is unique, and the finding aid helps to standardize the information available about a collection so that you can always expect to learn certain things about a collection by looking at the finding aid. Most of the information available will be familiar to you if you're familiar with looking up books in a library catalog. Things like ID or call number, subject terms, location, which is down here in this section called under administrative information. So that's information's under repository. Repository is kind of a fancy word for location. And citation information. There are a couple things, however, that are unique to archival collections that you can find in a finding aid that can help you as you research. So let's talk about those right now. The first, back up here at the top, is this small section called Arrangement. In archives, our goal is to preserve what's called the original order of the materials, meaning that the materials are generally left untouched from the person who used them initially, so that any information to be gleaned from how the materials were stored by the person who used them can be learned by a researcher. Sometimes, as is the case in this collection, it is not possible. Most archivists who write finding aids will let you know this by a similarly structured sentence in the finding aid under the arrangement section, much like appears here. However, besides whether or not original order was kept, this section will also tell you about what order is present. In this case, it says that the collection is arranged chronologically. We can see this better if we scroll down to this related section at the bottom, Box and Folder Listing. This section, tied to arrangement, shows you where exactly within the collection the information you might be looking for is. So if you wanted to see a handbook from 1956, we know from looking at this part of the finding aid that you have to look in box 2, folder 3, because it tells you that folder 3 in box 2 contains handbooks from 1955 to 1959. The next section I want to talk about is scope and contents of the materials, which is back up here towards the top. This section of the finding aid is very helpful in the early stages of research because it tells you what you might find in the collection. So for example, if you're looking for pictures, this section of the finding aid will tell you if there are pictures available in the collection. Also, it will tell you anything particularly interesting about a collection that you might not expect about it. For example, for this particular finding aid in this particular collection, it mentions in the scope and content notes that there are ghost stories in some of the student handbooks. Finally, an important section that's fairly unique to archives, located here underneath the scope and contents of the materials, is the collection historical note. Much like an abstract or summary gives you an overview of a book or scholarly work, this section places you in the context of when the collection was made. It gives you an idea of what the world was like when the materials were used, tells you how the materials might have been used, and any other background information that might be helpful to a researcher when thinking about the context that the materials were in. With that, that's everything you need to both find and make the most of finding aids using the library catalog and Archon. If you have any further questions, please feel free to reach out to the reference librarian on duty or contact the archivist directly using the contact information available on library.chatham.edu/archives. Thank you for your attention and happy researching.